Have you ever worked a job and just felt like you were putting in all this work, showing up early, leaving late, doing the overtime, doing all the things that make the job happy, but maybe you not so much? Is that you?
Yeah.
Raise your hand, let me see that.
It was.
Yeah. It was until you became an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was me too. After years of trial and error and working for other people and making their dreams become reality, I finally stepped out and I found a way to make it all make sense for me, my entrepreneurial journey. And today I just want to share a little bit of my story and how that happened, and maybe you can get something out of it. I'm like a kid right now with a new game. Y'all got kids? Anybody got kids? Play game? Y'all buy new PlayStations and stuff like that? That's how I feel right now. Like I just got a new game and I just kind of want to play it with y'all a little bit. And, you just can't wait to share the game, right? Everybody, come to the house. Let me share the game. But that's what this is. My name is Kartez Addison. A lot of people know me as Kartez Marcel. I'm a singer, songwriter, rapper, entrepreneur, teacher. Got a lot of different hats, including this one. As a rapper, I've toured 30 plus cities throughout the United States. I've been on some of the biggest stages, worked with a lot of great artists along my journey. You can see my work on plenty of different platforms, all of the ones where you find your music. I've been on KCTV5, KCUR, NPR, all of these different cool places I've done interviews with. Definitely, if you get a chance, go check me out. As an educator, 10 plus years, I've worked with thousands of youth throughout Kansas City in the areas of music, entrepreneurship, and leadership. I currently am working with Center in the Center School District right now. Center School District and with Genesis Charter School at the moment, but I've had partnerships with you name it. But before all that, I was like some of us in here, working that dead-end job that just didn't feel right. It's like, this is cool, even if it's paying you good. It's like, yeah, it's cool. But you feel like you got something else that you want to give to the world, right? You can't shake it. You're like, all right, I did all the work. Even if you went to college, you got the job, but you're like, nah, I'm this thing, whatever that thing, or I want to do that thing, whatever that is. I was like that, and I had a reality check. Some things happened, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna share that with you. It was 2007, and I just got back after a failed attempt at college. Right, I was down in Texas, and I was trying to find my lane, as many people do as they get out of high school. And I was working at Walmart, trying to make things happen. I would call my brother often, and he would just check on me and say, "What you doing, bro?" And I'm like, "Man, I'm down here." And usually it was like met with a complaint. I'm like, "Yo, I hate this place. Walmart's trash. The professor, he giving me too much work. I don't want to do this, It was always something that I was complaining about. And he eventually got tired of the complaining and was like, "Yo, it's time for you to come on back home." And I trust my brother, and I said, all right, fine. Came back home to Kansas City. He actually came down there and picked me up. That's how tired of hearing me he was. He was like, "I'm gonna come get you." He came down and picked me up. And, sorry, I thought I had this right. Dang, I really messed that up. Sorry, y'all. All right, cool. So after he came and picked me up, I get back to Kansas City, and I kept that terrible Walmart job. So I was working overnight though. And I was stocking shelves one day. And my phone was ringing. I usually can't, you're on the floor, the sales floor, they don't want you to answer the phone. And my phone ringing. I can't answer the phone. And it was my sister. And I said, man, I probably should grab this phone. So I grabbed the phone and I'm like, yo, what's up? I'm working. She was like, yo, somebody shot Kevin. I said, somebody shot Kevin? What you mean somebody shot Kevin? She said, yeah, somebody shot him. My first thoughts was, well, is he all right? Well, he's in critical condition and he's at the hospital. She told me what hospital she was at. I said, all right, I'm on my way. I jetted out of Walmart, bust through the emergency doors. I get to my car and the funny thing is, one of my friends in the back of the room, he probably knows this about me. I'm terrible with putting gas in my car. So I looked at the gas tank and my little SUV was barely, it was trying to crank over, but it really wouldn't crank over. And it finally started up and I jetted over to the gas station. All of this while I'm just hearing that my brother got shot. I'm like, yo, I gotta put gas in the car. So of course I had to stop, put gas in the car, but I made it. And I can remember just in this, I don't know, it was a weird moment. It was just so much going on in my head and it felt like it was going on around me. I jumped in the car and I jetted down the highway and I got to the hospital finally. And I walked in this room and it was just a waiting area and my aunts were there and they were praying and I just felt like something was different. Like the doctor finally came out and he was like, oh, he lost too much blood. He didn't make it. Obviously, for anybody, like that would be a terrible, terrible situation, terrible moment. I was floored. You see my brother here, don't worry about that. See my brother, he wasn't in any gangs, played the straight and narrow. This is a person that I looked up to. This was my hero. He was just caught in the middle of somebody else's bad situation and he was the one that took the bullet for it. Lost his life. I can remember though, shortly after that happened, I was reflecting on his life and he did a lot of things at such a young age. And we were talking about, man, he got a girl pregnant in high school and he had his daughter right out of high school. And instead of, letting that kind of slow him down, it really kind of did something to him and motivated him to make things happen. This guy is 19, 20 years old and he went back to college and he finished college and he bought himself a house at 21. And this is the house that he would say, hey, come back and live with me when I was down on my luck. Come stay with me, he and my sister. And just some amazing things. It was a lot that we were reflecting on it. I was like, yo, this is crazy. He died at 23 years old. He had all these things going on. I was talking to my folks about it, and one of the things that I had to look at, I said, well, dang, he did a lot of great things. It made me look at myself. And I had to ask myself this question. Well, Tez, what are you doing with the time that you have? If you only had 23 years to make something happen and you knew that was it for you, how would you spend that time? That's the question for you. If there's something that you want to do and you know that you've kind of not jumped out and did it, why? If you only had 23 years to make that happen, it'd be tough, right? That was a tough moment. But I was faced with that reality, and once I asked myself that question, I said, you know what, I gotta make something happen. So I jumped out and I started doing things, entrepreneurial things, just random things I was doing. I don't know, I had a little business and it was doing all right, and me and my homie back there, we had something that we started called the League of Lifestyles. We had a studio and we were kind of just toying around, but the reality is there was no real structure or focus around it. It really just landed me back in the place where I didn't want to be, which was at another job. I didn't want to be at another job, but I felt as though the reason that I probably failed the first attempt at jumping out was I wasn't really in my true gifts. I didn't really understand what I was meant to be here, what I was meant to do while I was here. I didn't really understand it. See, I had been a musician, a rapper, my entire life. These guys can vouch for it in the back. I'm gonna keep pointing them out because these are my guys, all right? Just know that. But I had been one my entire life. My family was heavily involved in the music industry. You ever heard of rapper E40? My people brought that man out. They've seen success, and all I ever wanted was that same type of success. I was a musician, a rapper, but I was just a hobbyist. I wasn't really taking it serious until I was like, you know what? I gotta do something with this. I met my now wife, was a girlfriend at the time, and she was a regular at a local church here in Kansas City. And the church had a advertisement, I believe, that went across the screen, and it was like, they're searching for a audio-visual director. Just a person to mess with the sound, that's all it is. And she came back to me knowing that I was a musician and trying to find my purpose. She came back to me and she said, they have a job there. I think that this would be something that's really dope for you. I think you should try it. I said, all right, I hadn't done anything on a professional level at this point, but I said, let me jump out there. So I did. Applied for the job, got the gig, started the journey. And it was really cool. The job was really cool. And it did a couple things. It gave me some stability. Now, I was just dating my wife at that point, but I knew that I would probably eventually end up getting married, so it provided some stable income because the things that I was doing at that moment wasn't really doing that. But, so it did that, but it also kind of gave me what I needed as a rapper, musician, some opportunity to mess with some music, and it was really cool in that sense, that it was like, okay, cool, I'm doing some music and I'm paying the bills. All right, we got something here. This is kind of working out. This works, all right. But it was a job though, y'all. And after a while, it just started to feel like a job. It was like, I'm still just kind of letting somebody else's dream, building somebody else's dream, still doing their thing. And, the pastor and all these people there, they had these big visions and they wanted all of these things to happen. And I was bought into it, but really in the back of my mind, I said, man, I don't care about it. This ain't it. Some years had went by and I was still in this place. I had built some relationships within the church with the people I worked with who were really cool people as well. And there was a little old lady that worked at the front office. She was the pastor's assistant and everybody's go-to person. Her name was Miss Barb. Me and Miss Barb had a cool relationship and we would talk all the time. And I've always kind of gravitated towards the older generation just to get the wisdom, that type of thing. Do that, okay? But Miss Barb came to me one day and she knew all of these things about me, that I was a musician and all this stuff, and I was a rapper, and she knew all this stuff about me, and she came to me and she said, you know what, Tez, You were extremely talented before you got here. Before you got here. It's about time that you step out and make something happen. Whatever that thing is you want to do, that you've been holding on to, don't let this place stop you from doing that. That's what she said. And I was taken aback, like, what? Like, Miss Barb said this to me. That's because that's not the type of conversations that we would have. It would just be, how your family doing and stuff like. But she seen something in me. My wife had been seeing that as well. She'd been saying the same thing. So the combination of that, and I'm like, wow, okay. It's time to turn up. It's time to really do something. I started to think about the things that I could do. They gave me this mindset. It was a mindset shift that was happening. And the mindset shift that was happening is defined like this: a change in how you think about a situation or aspect of life. I didn't leave yet. I was just inspired to. I was like, yo, I gotta figure out what that looks like. Like, this is pretty cool. I didn't box myself in. I said, you know what? I got this gift. I'm gonna put it out there. It's much bigger than what I feel like I'm doing right now. I couldn't box myself in. Anybody ever feel like they was just boxed in? Nah, don't box yourself in. We don't do that. It's a good thing right here. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow. What was happening in my situation was my wife and Miss Barb and my friends and people like that was like, Tez, you're talented. They seen something in me that I wasn't seeing in myself, and they said, hey, it's time for you to go, bro. You too gifted to be right here in this place. Get up. Let's get moving. And I had to reflect on it. And I said, you know what? It's time to move. And realizing that if you only had 23 years, and by the time I had came to this mindset shift, I was already 25. I was already behind. I could have been up out of here with nothing, right? But instead I said, you know what? Time is limited. It's time to go. That's what I did. Started putting myself out there. Started doing a lot of great things. Was releasing music. I was performing concerts. I was created some platforms, an open mic called Rap Asylum, where we would invite people out to perform and hang out with us. And I was networking and touring with the band. And it was one day and I was downtown. I'm down here. We downtown. Did y'all ever go to First Fridays? Is that still a thing? Yeah. Is it big like it was? Like it was a...
No, it's not.
Okay, I used to love First Fridays. I would go down there and I would set up on the sidewalk, and I just found like, I'm gonna just perform down here with people that walk by. If you haven't been to First Fridays, definitely check it out. But it's this huge event that's held in the Crossroads, which is just across the bridge. And they have thousands of people who will come down and just showcase what they have, what they do as an artist and otherwise. You don't even have to be an artist. It's just your business, whatever it is. There's food trucks, there's food, it's all kind of cool stuff. Go. But I was down there performing, and this is the picture here of what my setup would look like.
Sorry, I know that guy. It's awesome.
That's my guy. That's my partner. Yeah. But I was down there performing, and a gentleman walked past, and he introduced himself, and he said, "Hey, my name is Tommy Felts. I am a writer for Startland News, and I want to interview you." I'm like, interview me for what? He's like, well, I see you down here. You got this cool setup. I just want to know more about you. And I said, all right, cool. I'd never been interviewed by anybody up to that point. Tommy Felts said, all right, I'm gonna meet you over here in this alley. And it took me to this alley, and it had all this graffiti stuff on it. I said, I ain't never been in this alley. And it's like, I think it's called Graffiti Alley. But he took me to Graffiti Alley, and he sat me down, and he questioned me, and I told him all the things that I had going on. And he took some pictures of me, and he said, hey, as soon as this is out, I'll let you know. I said, okay, cool. He hit me back, and he said, it's out. Check it out. And I'm nervous, y'all, because I'm like, I don't know what this is about. But he released this article in it, and it said this: hip hop entrepreneur. Rap stardom isn't the only way to a paycheck. Before, I hadn't heard that unless you was like a big artist. Like you got Jay-Z or somebody like entrepreneur. I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm just a rapper. I'm just doing some stuff. I didn't see it that way. You go to the article and you start to read how he was hearing me, and he was saying, hey, no, you're doing this, you're doing that, you have all these great things going on. You're an entrepreneur and you're doing it in your lane. I'm like, wow, that's big. I was amazed by what Tommy was saying and how the article had turned out, and y'all know how we do. I was working that dead-end job, right? And when Tommy told me that I was an entrepreneur, I was ready to go. I go to my wife and I'm like, yo, Tommy said I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave this church job. I'm done with this thing. What y'all think my wife said?
You better not leave that free.
Can I cuss in here? Nah, I ain't gonna cuss. She said, hell nah. But at first I was like, why not? We got a good thing going on. We got these platforms and we got all these cool things. And she said, well, and I felt like she was kind of hating y'all, for real. I ain't gonna lie. But she wasn't. She was like, hold on a second. I support you. And she did. Remember, she's the reason why I took the church job and all that, right? She said, before you do that though, we got to figure out how to really make this thing a business. It's entrepreneurial, but it ain't quite a business yet. If you got something going on right now and you like, I'm ready to jump out and do it, you got to start to think about how you can align it, how to make it make sense, how to make it a business. Okay? She said, how about do this? And she gave me an idea. She said, listen, don't quit the job yet. What if you started to leverage it? What if you started to look at your job as a partner and not just a place that you're working at? It's a partner. So leverage where you are. I didn't have good credit, y'all. My credit was trash for a second. It's much, much better now. So I didn't have good credit. I didn't have a big savings account. I didn't have mom and dad's money. All I had was this job, and she said, well, just use that as an investor. Your job is your biggest investor, y'all. I'm sorry. I know I've been talking about quitting the job and all that stuff, but the reality is, hey, look at how to use it first. If you got one now, you got money coming in, look at how to use it first. See that as your biggest investor. This is where you could pay your bills, and then you take the rest of that money and you keep investing in that thing that you want to invest in. That's what we're doing here. We're building our network. That was a key for me. As I was creating these different platforms, I would meet different people. I would meet other curators of platforms, and I would go and support their platforms and their things that they were doing. We would network and we would exchange, we would exchange services and things of that nature. I remember telling the guy, what's your name, bro? Ro. I told Ro, I said, man, it's kind of weird, but my biggest fan base musically is not in Kansas City. It's in Lincoln, Nebraska. Like, how does that work? Networking. We was in Lincoln, Nebraska doing a show up there. I don't even know if it was a paid show. It was a gentleman that was sitting there, and he was the promoter for the gig. We started talking to him, and he started bringing us up there. That's how it happened. From then, we were doing their biggest festivals in Lincoln. We had a fan base. I did an album release in Omaha, Nebraska, and all my Lincoln fans, well, a lot of my Lincoln fans came over there to my album release. I'm like, how is this possible? But hey, it happened. It was networking. I was networking here. Why am I here? Networking. That's how I got to this place. I started to see it as a business. Oh, okay. If I do this, and I align it with this, and I started to structure it in a way that made sense. Now it's a business. Now I can realistically come back to my wife and say, hey, I have a proposition. She told me to answer this question. She said, if you can tell me what an 8-hour day looks like for you as a business owner, then I can listen to it. So I broke it down. I said, hey, I'm gonna spend my time doing X, Y, Z. I'm gonna turn up on my platforms. I'm gonna start teaching more. All right, I started teaching more. I started to invest in other areas that related to my artistry that made sense, and they started to yield a return. My performances I was getting paid for. I couldn't do no more free shows, y'all. I had to start getting paid. Right? And whatever I wasn't getting booked on, if I wasn't getting booked and it was slow, I'm gonna make something myself. Artists don't realize they can do that. People don't realize they can do that. You ain't gotta wait on somebody else to give you a platform. Make it yourself. And you can make it how you want it, because 9 times out of 10, the platforms that you're performing at or whatever you do, maybe modeling on, you got a bigger vision in what you're doing anyway. Probably a better one. Put it together yourself. What was I doing with that? Oh, I didn't realize it until I started thinking like a business owner, that I was diversifying and leveraging my skill sets in different ways. That's what made it work for me. For the last 5 years, I brought in over 6 figures a year, every year consistently, being a diverse artist. That's the key. Adding things that make sense to what you are doing to what you do. If you're a painter, you could paint portraits and beautiful murals and things of that nature, but I can almost guarantee you that there's somebody else who needs something painted. There's somebody else who may need, I don't know, may want to come to a paint and sip if you create that. Y'all ever been to paint and sips?
Yeah,
they dope. I'm sorry, you say?
I said they're great.
They're great. They're dope. There are so many different things you can do. There's somebody else who wants to learn how to paint. Listen, y'all, I teach people how to rap. The majority of my money comes from teaching people how to rap. I ain't created no big artist yet, so I don't know if they picked it up. But I'm just saying, and I'm serious. But it's younger students, but I also teach them other ways. We get to talking about leadership, and there's some mentoring components in there. It ain't just rap, right? But I do get paid to teach people how to rap, and I'm gonna tell you right now, that's one of the biggest streams of income that I got. It's somebody else who's looking at you and say, I want to do what you do. Fine, I'll show you. That's what it is. Mindset shift. If you're just beginning, leveraging where you are, think of it different. Okay, that job, it may be annoying, but we're gonna figure out a path towards getting out of that joint. We're gonna use it to get us to where we wanna go. And once you got that, the key to staying there is being diverse, finding some other things that you could do. I knew that I wasn't gonna sell a million. It was far-fetched for me to be like, I'm gonna be Lil Wayne or somebody. I mean, that's cool. I got them dreams. I still got them dreams, but I'm 37. I've been doing it for a long time. And at some point, I don't think you age out of your music journey, but I do think you got to start to realize that, hey, okay, this way ain't working. I got to figure out how to make it work. I have a wife. I have a daughter. I got bills. Got to make some money off of this thing. If I want to do it, then it has to make sense. That's what it was. That's what it is. I'm gonna stop right there, y'all. My name is Kartez Addison. If you found any value in the things that I said, then make sure you hit me up. KartezMarcelBooking@gmail.com. I would love to talk more in depth about how this thing could work for you. I have a strategy that we'll implement, and I feel like it'll make it work for you. Hit me up on all the social platforms. Follow me. I got some cool stuff coming out. I appreciate you. I love y'all. All that. Thank you. I'm still here though. If you have any questions, I'm open for it. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
Just on your last slide, so how do you know when you're like doing too much diversifying? Like, how do you know when you're like stretching too much
Yeah, that's a great question. You have to know what you need out of it. Right now, I'm not able to do as much personal music making as I would want to, so I'm having to figure out what to scale back on. I think that's just kind of I don't know exactly how you do that, but you just have to know, like, okay, cool, I'm doing too much over here. I'm making enough money. Let me slow down in these other areas so that I can focus on the areas that make sense to you.
How do you like start it though? Like, how did you start selling your service of teaching people? How did you start adding?
Yeah, so I just realized people would want the service, and the networking part was major for me. I knew a person that had a partnership with an organization called Front Porch Alliance, and they were already doing some music related stuff there. And I just reached out to him and said, hey, do you still do work with Front Porch Alliance? Hey, I want to come down and talk to the youth. And it was spec work at first, so it was free. Came down, talked to the youth, and they said, yo, this would be cool if we did a program like this. So I actually just kind of started to design the program out for there. The first program is called CD for Me. I'm old, y'all, I'm sorry. It was CDs. But it was called CD for Me, and it was like the ABCs of the music industry, and they already had the kids, so I didn't have to find them. That was the key to me teaching more, is finding organizations who already had the kids, so I didn't have to bring them to me. Just going to them. And the journey started there. Now I have several different programs with several different organizations around different subject matters.
You flip houses?
How you know? You being nosy? Nah, I'm just messing with you. I'm messing with you. I'm just messing with you. Nah, I did. Now, I wasn't gonna bring that up today, but yes, the money that I started to bring in as an artist, I did start to invest in other things. I own houses, I have a trucking company and some other things, so I just really, really diversified. That's what keeps me going. Yes, ma'am.
Expound on that, how, your passion, you were able to turn that into a business, which led you into other business adventures?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm glad y'all wanted that, because there's a long story behind why I didn't put that in here, but thank you. I'm good with that. We here, we talking. What led to that? COVID. COVID came, and the church job that I had kept, all the churches started going down. And I kind of hollered at my wife, who was, get you a wife or a spouse or something, right? Because they gonna help you. But I'm just saying, I'm big on that. But I was talking to her about some things that we can do, and I knew that eventually that the church was gonna let me go, and that kind of was gonna happen just because COVID. So we had the money. I was fresh off of a tour, and we had some disposable income that we just had kind of sitting in a savings account. And the first thing I kind of came to her was, I said, hey, this church is gonna let me go. We need some money coming in. I need to start doing it before it happens. So the first thing I did was I went and purchased a home, a rental property. I just went on YouTube, y'all. I learned everything about different methods on how people were buying houses and how they were making money off of it. And I could just tell you the strategy that I use is called the BRRRR method, BRR. And it's where you buy a house, you renovate a house, you rent it out, and then you refinance it. So the first property that I had, we bought for like $25K, and I have a family, like part of my family, like I grew up around construction workers and stuff like that. So I kind of knew how to do a lot of the work, so that saved me a whole lot. So I just fixed up the house. Once I got a tenant in the house, I had about 35 grand into it, and I got it reappraised, and that house reappraised for like, I don't know, $100,000 after that, right? I'm gonna tell y'all all my business, but it is what it is. With the refinance, you get 80% of that back. So I was able to get all of my money back and some, and then do it again. And you can keep doing that over and over and over and over and over. That's just one of the methods. It's a really cool one. So COVID, though, to answer your question, COVID drove that. I had to find other methods and streams of income that were consistent. the other one that I jumped into was the box trucking industry. So I bought a box truck, and a homie of mine, somebody said they knew Royce. Sauce, was that you? Yeah. So Sauce is a good friend of mine, like my business partner, in a lot of these different ventures that I do. And he owned a box truck, and he was telling me like, man, I'm working this early morning route, and I don't have to be home. By the time I get home, I still got the rest of my day to do whatever I wanted to do, blah, 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 blah. So I said, man, that sounds good. So I kind of followed his steps, and I jumped into the box trucking industry, and got a very similar route and contract that he had, where I just get up at 3 a.m. and be done by 7 p.m. and I done made what I needed to make before my wife and child even woke up. And yeah, so that's a part of it. So yeah, I really did take the diversification seriously. Like, it wasn't just the smaller platforms, it was the larger things. But you hit me up on this, I'll tell you more about it. I'll talk to you more about it. Any other questions?
So when you started flipping the houses, did you go reach your real estate license?
I did not. I just went and bought them and just kind of went off of what I learned on YouTube, stuff like that. But you can get a real estate license. That's a great thing to do. You don't even have to buy houses once you got that. You could just find clients and, you know, sell them houses and make the profit off of that, or make the commission off of that. That's a great thing too. Yes, ma'am.
You produce as well?
I do.
Do you have any programs that offer workshops or anything like that?
Yes, tons of them. So for workshops for what age range?
Well, I mean, I guess teenagers and like
Teenagers and like young adults. Yeah. Yep. That's what everything is. So I have a program with Royce, my good friend. It's called We Are Rap, and it teaches the ABCs of the music industry. We go from, you know, production. We go from writing to production into recording and releasing, and how you can get your music out there to the world.
Another question.
Uh-huh.
Let's start with that. I know a lot of kids are scared of like the industry because of, you know, from what I hear, a lot of rappers get a lot of trash, or I don't know what's the word.
Like, a lot of people think, oh, you're just a rapper, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
some kids don't look at it like, oh, it's not a serious job, kind of thing.
Are you sure it's kids that look at it like that?
Or that's like getting dangerous.
Like, I have my,
From what I've heard.
what we're asking is, I have my son, he kind of does his own music, but he's always like, nah,
He's too
I don't want to
scared
do any of that.
because from what he hears, it's too dangerous.
So,
Yeah. So rap has its areas that.
You've encountered something similar, or
but we've always pushed, like,
for him
get
to do
involved, not as a rapper, but like I said, he produces and does his own thing. So we always kind of push for that, but he's always like,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not for everybody, right? So you don't, you know, rap might be your thing, or it may not be your thing. So I mean, I wouldn't, make anybody do it. You would have to have a love for it that, really high.
What avenues would you push him? Like, you were talking to him.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
avenues would you push him down to understand if he was gonna go into it?
Got you. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. So that's where programs like what I have come into play. We Are Rap is not just about you becoming a rapper. Rap is just, and matter of fact, rap doesn't even mean rap. It's an acronym for real and positive. What we're talking about are the different opportunities that you can have if you did do music, because you don't always have to just be the superstar. Yeah. So there are so many positions that you can play within the music industry, as like a producer, you can be a writer, you can be an engineer, all these different lanes that you can go to. If you just love music and you say, hey, this part of it ain't for me, we show that there are some other parts of it that, you might discover that you have a gift for. And I think that, so really just hit me up, and really, I really feel like who you're talking about would benefit from the program that we have.
Can I also interject on that, because I'm also in the entertainment industry, and when you dabble in certain avenues, like he wants to be a rapper,
there's so many different genres of rap that they could get into.
Yes.
That are dangerous, right? Don't put the stigma of rap being dangerous, because that's what's, since the dawn of rap coming out, that's what they've done. They made it seem like it was dangerous, it's causing people to harm other people, just like they do with video games and stuff like that, right? It's not necessarily the product, it's how you're using it, who you're surrounding yourself with. So don't do rap where people are talking about killing and shooting each other, right?
Right.
It's gonna bring a certain counter. It just is what it is, you know? You're not gonna be able to safely do that from home, talking about killing people and hitting people's houses up and stealing from people and not expect for that life to come back to you, right? But if you're rapping about some more positive stuff, that shit can still bump, it can still have beats, you can still dance to it, right? There's just a misconception on what you rap about, what the music is about, you know, make it positive, make it something that's not negative, that's not looked at as something that's gonna bite you back later. You're like, why the hell was I making music about that? You know? You don't wanna get older in age and be like, why was I rapping about, you know, like the beat of girls and, you know, like killing people, you know, and most people aren't even living that lifestyle. It's all a facade. So just keep that advice.
That's great advice. Thank you for saying that. It really is true. I don't do, so, you know, hip hop is, like you said, there's different genres within it. But it's all about how you see it. The radio pumps the bull crap out, right? And if you're just kind of a part of that world, then you will miss out on a lot of great music, a lot of great messages within the music. My music is mostly testimonial, mostly about the journey, the things that I've seen, and it's safe for anybody to really listen to, and I think to get something out of. And there are a ton of rappers like that. And to be honest with you, you know, some of the bigger rappers are like that. Like, you know, the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Cole's. I like some of the new upcoming women rappers, like Doechii is dope. Rhapsody is super dope. There's a lot of MCs that can pump positivity into your ears, and I don't think that you don't have to sum rap up as something that's being dangerous just because there's a few guys who talk crazy and do stuff that they ain't even really doing, most of them. So, yes, ma'am.
And I was just gonna add, when you think about music, you also gotta look at it as there's a part of it called the entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
Some artists, you know, art is actually in its essence, it's a political act. It's an act of expression. It's a mental health therapy. Practice. That's what music is. That's what you get different painters who paint something beautiful. They capture moments. You know, art is in itself is something beautiful. When it becomes something that's detrimental to the mental health and the stability of a culture, it's a part of genocide, so it becomes a political agenda. So whenever you hear it, you have to hear it from that standpoint and not a standpoint of authentic influence. Because hip hop, before it became something detrimental to the people that was absorbing it, it was an act of freedom of expression. You know, it was a way for people to express the conditions of their environments that they no longer wanted to be a part of. It was something where they talked about hope. So when you hear it in a negative aspect, in a negative light, that came because that was something designed to revert and be counterproductive towards its original purpose. So hip hop is definitely will never be dangerous.
That's dope. Thank you for saying that. He was cooking. Man, I love it. Yes.
And I have cards because I'm actually a hip hop artist.
Yeah, put them things out there, sure.
Since we're talking about positivity in that, I want y'all to know that it's here.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I'ma always fight for the greater good of hip hop. Period.
Thank you, sis.
I was just gonna ask real quick, it sounds like from what you're saying with the diversification that you had a shift where it was like, all right, you're gonna put your art first.
Yeah.
But sometimes it seems like putting your art first might also be learning about the housing market, learning about all these other things. How do you balance that? Because I think that's something I'm struggling with now of like wanting to prioritize my art. Like I've been a musician my whole life and then trying to figure out career stuff. I learned all these other things, marketing, journalism, psychology. How do you, I guess, balance the diversification without going overboard and then becoming like like not like forgetting your art to then keep going down the.
I guess that's my question too. Like, how much do these things that you have to like?
Yeah, so the things that I invested in specifically complement what I'm doing, right? They don't take away from the main goal, which is what I want to do as an artist. So as I explained, like the trucking company, I still drive a couple days a week, but it doesn't get in the way of anything that I'm more passionate about. It only adds to it. It's the same concept as it relates to when I was talking about how to leverage your job. It's just another way to get to a stable place in your artistry where it doesn't take away from what you're doing and what you're passionate about. Anything that gets in the way of it, I don't mess with. Honestly, I just kind of stay away from it. There's plenty of opportunities. But one of my mentors and investors, he always says, don't buy yourself a job. He says, don't buy yourself a job. I said, hey man, I want to start this lounge where we do this and that. He said, that sounds like work to me. You're gonna have to be there. You're gonna have to make sure that you have employees there. You're gonna have to make sure all that. So if that's not for you, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's just another way of investing. But if you already know what you want to do, you're a musician, you're an artist, that's the thing that you want to do. Anything else comes second to that. It just only complements it. I hope I'm answering that question the right way. We got one back here, and I got you. Oh. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned investors, and I know like in painting, a lot of times there's maybe only a couple of collectors of a specific painter. How did you go about finding an investor?
So I've never had an investor. I've only invested in myself. So I just made sure that it was a priority that after I took care of the things that I was supposed to take care of, I put everything else into my artistry. And that was, making sure that I had equipment that made sense to whatever it was I was doing, which was rapping. So I have a studio that rivals any studio in America, in my opinion. It's a small one, but it works. I'll make sure I have the right equipment. I made sure that whatever platforms that I were invested in, which let's say I did Rap Asylum, that it was one of the best shows that you could have, So we made sure we had the lights, I made sure I did all things in excellence, and I put my own money behind it. And the return from that, I took whatever little profit I could, and I just keep reinvesting. That's just kind of how it works. So I never had an investor. I might have swiped the credit card as the biggest investor I had, but that's really it. We had one in the back over here, sorry.
I was just wondering if you could touch more on how you were talking about building out your own platform, like curating that type of thing, like with your own ideas and dreams. It's easy to kind of get on somebody else's stream, but how do you really lay down the tracks and create your own path? Where you're trying to go?
Yeah, so it is about marketing, but it's really about once you establish those, doing the smaller things, I say, is what helped make that make sense. Really, I didn't have a platform before I started performing on the sidewalk. While I was performing on the sidewalk, people would come by and they would just know, just like she did. Hey, I'm an artist. I got a card. It was just networking. And once you get to that place, and they get to following you on Instagram and your other social media, it's really easy from that point, because now you're just inviting those people out. And there are other strategies, of course, to make sure that it hits your target market and all that type of thing. But the basics of it is just who's following you? Who are your fans right now? I don't care if the room is 30 people or 5 people or 300 people. I've done all of those, and I just made sure I was consistent at it. Sometimes you will lose, and more than likely you will lose a few times, but it gets big. I talked about that Lincoln, Nebraska. My first trip to Lincoln, Nebraska, we were performing in front of like 5 people. The biggest show we did in Nebraska had thousands in front of Lincoln Calling, which is their festival. That was over maybe a 2-period time. We just kept going back, and the shows got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they started to pay more and more and more.
So would you say consistency then?
Consistency, not being afraid to fail. Go ahead and put out there. You got an idea for that platform, whatever that looks like. Make sure you do it, and make sure you do it to the best of your ability. Make it dope. People see that. And you may get an investor. You may get somebody say, hey, I like this. How can I come alongside of you? You may get somebody who's doing the same thing that you're doing, and you can partner to make that. You'll pull from each other's fan bases. You'll bring that crowd. Those are things that you could do.
More people are watching you than you think whenever you're posting on social media and
Yeah.
you're showcasing all of the talents that you do have. You will be really surprised at what will come once you believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect anyone else to want to invest in you or take you seriously?
Yep.
You know, so I don't care, like when I post stuff online, I don't care if it gets no likes, you're seeing it. I know you're looking at it when you scroll.
Right.
Someone's gonna see it. Someone's gonna see what you see in yourself.
Yep. All right. Yes.
So, quick question. So, I know there's a variety of artists in the room. So, like, the teaching part to me is super dope because you got programming, kids, you're still doing what you love. And, you know what I mean? So, have you seen spaces like that or opportunities like that for, let's say, a painter or a dancer or, you know what I mean? They're like, so somebody's in the room, they're like, man, I want to go that route. You know, what does that look like? Or is there opportunity for that, for various types of art, right, in that teaching space?
Yeah, great question. There is tons of opportunity for that. School districts, at least citywide that I know of, are struggling with electives, with making these kids interested. I mean, these kids, it's hard to keep the students engaged, and they are in need of people to come with something creative, something dope to, you know, as an elective class or even as an after-school program opportunity. There are tons of them. There is a wide open market in this arena. If you want to get into the teaching, the thing that I would say to do before you do it is make sure that you have put something together, like a curriculum of some sorts, before you approach the schools. But you could walk in any district and just say, hey, I have this thing. And the better the proposal, you know, the easier it is to get in there and get started right away. So, yep. No?
Are you tapped into any global markets? So, like, I know as a musician, you have the Nebraska market, but did you try to go to, like, Germany or, like, Japan or any outside of the United States market to get global?
I did not. So most of my travels was throughout the Midwest and the Southeast regions. So we did more than just Lincoln. I just was talking about Lincoln because that's where the fan base is. But I didn't go abroad. But the coolest thing is that I just did a presentation for an organization called GEWKC, and they brought in 12 different artists from around the world. And I was presenting on, me and my partner Royce was presenting on what we do here in Kansas City with our program, We Are Rap. And that hopefully will lead us up to some connections to take what we do outside of the US. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
How do you find these opportunities where you're talking about bringing curriculums, and then also when you're like building your own platform, like maybe creating your own event?
How do you find the opportunities?
Yeah, like how do you book it with that?
So I mean that's let me try to figure out how to answer that the easiest way. Yeah, everything is like guerrilla marketing with me. It's just like I'm walking in and asking how much to rent this space. I see an opportunity here. Oh, okay, cool. This is a cool room. I can probably fit about 70 people in here. Get a little stage. Okay, they got this screen right here. I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, okay, this will be something, and I would probably find somebody and just ask them how much to rent the space and just kind of build it out from there. As it relates to curriculum, that's just so the coolest thing is once you start to partner with other people, you'll learn a whole lot from them. So Front Porch Alliance, for example, there was a grant writer there. Her name is, well, she's not there anymore, but her name is Amy Alderman, I believe is her last name. But she actually taught me a whole lot about what they required curriculum-wise, and she had to write grants based on it. So that was just something I picked up because, you know, we had to make sure that the program made sense for the grant that they were writing for it. I just learned how to start writing the curriculums based off of that. There's a ton of information. Use AI, use ChatGPT, whatever you got to do to make sure that you got, if nothing else, what would you do if you were going there for 5 days a week? What are you doing with them every day? Day 1, we do this. Day 2, we do this. Day 3, we do this. As simple as that, they would be like, okay, this makes sense, we'll do it. Doesn't have to be like extensive. It's very simple.
I was just going to say in reference to that, collaborate. You never know who's in your community that can come talk to your children or your youth. One of my daughter's high school coach, to make a long story short, I was a parent, then became a coach, and now I was a COO of the company, long story. But she teaches an entrepreneurship class. She also teaches a class on the art of stepping. And so in both of those, I have been guest speakers.
Wow.
That takes the burden off of her necessarily, and it's like parents, right? Sometimes you, as a teacher, you tell kids and it's like, yep. And then you bring someone else in and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And you're like, I literally just said that, but sure. So tap your network. In many cases, a lot of teachers know a lot of people in different industries. So tap your network, even if you're a musician, like I am not, my kid is, but I run an HR company, so I'm really good at seeing processes and procedures and making sure that you don't have any blind spots. And so again, just use who's in your network. People want to see you thrive.
Yeah, cool.
Can I just say something
Yep.
too, that can help local artists, or even if you're a painter or whatever? You can actually make a printify shop where you can just make a shirt or just pretty much print on demand, connect it to a TikTok, so you have a following. You have like local artists, you could just put your like maybe your mixtape photo of something. You can sell that, and there are people who like you, who want to follow you, help support you. They can buy off your TikTok, or just instantly print and send that out. I don't know if that's just another resource.
Dope.
And if you need someone to design that shirt.
Hey. Yeah. Listen, y'all, we have a room full of creatives in here, and I thank y'all for making this easy.
Anybody know how to use Blender?
Blender? What is, I've never heard of Blender.
No.
I know that.
I never. What is Blender?
So y'all want to know what Blender is?
Okay.
So now you can make a music video with a green screen backdrop in a fake environment.
Okay.
So Blender is a 3D. It's a free program you can download on your computer and probably go to YouTube University, and you can learn how to make these artificial 3-dimensional environments, and then you can make a video. You don't even have to go nowhere. You could be inside of this luxurious kitchen, but it was all you made it, you know. So, but
Yeah. No, thanks.
And that can be used for like music videos.
Yeah, that's super dope.
If you go on YouTube right now, you can look at music videos shot with like
With
green
Blender.
screen,
Yeah.
with a fake environment, and they got like this girl had a video. It was no cars in her background, but in her video, it's all kind of cars. You know, like
Yeah.
they made it.
So Blender does that for you.
Yes, and you can do so Blender also allows you to do artificial lighting. So it's almost like being an architect. You know what I mean? You go on there, you could, once you edit the video, you can pick how light you want it to look on this end. You know, if you got a window here, you can pick the shadow. It's just like you got a lot of creative control.
Yep.
And it'll save you a lot of money, especially when you independent. And you not only do it save you money on going and buying a set design and stuff like that, it's giving you a skill. So once you learn how to do it for yourself, you can learn how to do it for other people, and that ties into what he said about diversifying. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple,
That simple.
But Blender is free, and all you need to do is go on YouTube and let somebody show you how to use it, and you can start making 3D backgrounds and making your videos. If y'all do music video, that's my opinion.
That's what's up. Thank you so much. Well, give yourselves a round of applause for making this thing easy, right? Making it dope. All right. Cool. But again, if you want to holler at me, I'm easy to find on any of the social media platforms, email, whatever. I love to connect with you, network with you, exchange ideas with you, make some stuff happen. Thank y'all.